Hey everybody, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. It's lovely to see so many people here and chatting already. So this week for Cuppa Category Cards, it's the turn of another interview, which I always enjoy doing. And yeah, I get to chat to somebody quite rarely these days that's in my own country. So a fellow Englishman. So without further ado, you will have seen people anyway. I'm going to ask our Joe to introduce himself and say hello. How are you doing, mister?
Hello, hi, how are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, I am, thank you. Seems like a long time coming, this interview, doesn't it? I think.
Well, I think we spoke about it at least 18 months ago. And then obviously life takes over.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I just nudged you about 2 months ago, and you were like, well, I've got a waiting list, so.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I was thinking earlier today when I set this up, and I've got some set up right through October, but when I set this up, I remember thinking, wow, September, that's even after summer. I think we've barely even had it then. And it seemed like such a long way away, yet here we are.
That's it.
So yeah. So start off then, Joe. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of the inspiration behind your channel so that people who are coming in and saying hello, if they don't know you yet or your channel, what can they expect if they come and find out about you?
Right. Okay. So I'm Joe, and my channel is Joe the Tarot Guy, and my channel focuses. Well, it doesn't focus on anything. That's the thing. It's a bit eclectic. I do a lot of walkthroughs. I'll do a lot of VRs and things. I seem to be leaning more towards the tech side of things, certainly of late, making sure that people have the best information they can to make their channels better, whether that be through hardware, software, add-ons, plugins, bells and whistles, intros, outros, and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix, really. But yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit as well as we go through the interview about some of the various aspects that you kind of focus on your channel. But I suppose I just want to say as well, before we go on, everybody in the chat, if you have questions for Joe today, I'll pop it here just as a reminder. But can you please put any questions in capitals so that I can see it? Because on StreamYard, even if you tag me, it doesn't highlight them, unfortunately, like it does on YouTube. So any questions, if you put them in capitals, that would be great. And mods, if I miss any, if you could give me a little nudge as a reminder, as you usually do. So, yes, that's a little bit about your channel. How did you stumble across the community, the online tarot community?
Well, I think as is the case with a lot of people, I spent a good 18 months, 2 years being a lurker, and just watching people's channels, watching people's content, watching lives, putting in the odd comment, but nothing kind of majorly active. As I'm sure we'll go on to in a later question, I've always kind of dipped in and out of. I've always been pulled by tarot and by kind of the metaphysical aspect of things. So that's always been a part of kind of my subscriber, or what I subscribe to on YouTube, and yes, so I've lurked for a long time. Really, what pulled me into the community really was the community, seeing how people support each other, seeing how people actually are real friends, and it's not just lip service. It's they're there to support each other, they're there to help each other, and just seeing that camaraderie and that growth and that development, it was just really warming, and it was like, yeah, I would like to be part of that.
That's lovely. That's really nice. And I always feel quite warmed when I hear that, because that was my experience too. Started just researching a deck, and then found that people had these channels and you could join in live chats and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so as I said at the beginning, you're in the UK, you're in England, so you're north of me, aren't you? You're in north.
Yeah, I'm northwest England. I'm in a city called Preston, which on the UK map, if you know where Manchester is, and you draw a line from Manchester and you kind of go up to about 10 o'clock towards the west coast, you'll find Blackpool, and I'm just inland there by about 20 miles.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're right on the main north-south train line and the M6. So for transport and getting around, it's brilliant. But yeah, we're northwest England.
Oh, cool. And I used to go to Preston quite a lot because, as you know, my background was Mormon. And
yeah, we've got the big temple here.
Yeah, it opened, I think, well, it opened on the day that, I forgot who the person that won Eurovision from Israel, Dana International.
Good Lord.
This was a sign, really, that perhaps I was going down a different path. We went to the temple opening at Preston, second only temple in the whole of the UK. The one was in London.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I actually got married in the Preston temple, but we went up for the opening, and I can remember feeling really gutted that I was going to miss Eurovision. And it was the day that Ghana International. Just a random thing there, but that's my association with Preston as well, because you see it as you come up the motorway.
You do.
Huge, majestic building. But so, have you always lived there? Did you grow up in that part of the world?
Well, I was born in a town just west of Glasgow called Paisley, and I lived there until I was about 8. And then we moved to Preston, and I've been here ever since. So if somebody says, where are you from? Preston is the answer, because it's where I've been the longest.
So is your family Scottish?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all Scottish, and I'm one of those weird people that when I'm talking to my family, I'll talk to them in a Scottish accent, and it gets really weird if we have kind of a celebration, a birthday or a party, and I've got my friends there who hear me talking like this, and then I've got my family there, and then I start talking like that, and everything goes a bit weird, and then I start thinking, who am I? And it all becomes a little bit kind of, who shall I be today?
We've actually got Chris in the chat, who's from Glasgow,
Yes.
Cartomancy. So, and I just I love accents anyway, and they fascinate me. And I love the accent of the British Isles. I love the Liverpudlian accent. I love the Welsh accent, the Irish accent, Scottish accent. So, but there's such a difference between Glaswegian accent and other parts of Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
A huge country. So, but yeah, oh, cool. So, what was life like growing up? Was there any spiritual influences? Where did your interest in spiritual come from, and particularly divination?
Well, I say reliably. I was going to say I'm reliably led to believe that my granddad. So lineage. My dad's side are Italian, and my mum's side are Irish. My mum's side of the family, so granddad and up, were Romani, and that's kind of, I think, where it comes from. I don't know really. I mean, as I said before, it's something that has always just pulled me. I've always, and I've battled with it a lot because I was brought up Catholic and then became Baptist, and was all set to be a Jesuit priest at one point, but of course they wouldn't tolerate tarot cards or divination or homosexuality, so we had to get out. And yeah, so that's kind of where it comes from, and how I've battled with it and toyed with it and played with it over the years. And
how old were you at that point then? Where, because if you was heading on a journey and a path towards becoming a Jesuit priest, and obviously there was conflict there. At what point in your life was that? Was that quite early in your life, or?
It was. I mean, I was serving on the altar as an altar boy, and was heavily involved in the Catholic Church until I was 12. At which point I kind of became a little bit bored of it, really. I love the ritual element of it, but it didn't mean anything. It was just going through the motions without any emotion, without any substance. And I was walking through town one day, and I found this happy clappy, praise the Lord kind of type church with guitars and drums, and it all seemed a bit more exciting. So I joined them. They're a UK based church. They were called the Jesus Army. They've just been disbanded. You might have seen them in multicolored buses and minibuses and cars and things, and they've just had a big scandal. So they've been disbanded. But it was during that time, really, from being 12 to being 16, where I was with them, that I was feeling pulled from Christianity and that kind of lacking substance, lacking emotion, lacking a connection to cards and divination and supernatural and spiritual, and yeah, as I said, sexuality as well, which was a factor.
Yeah. And do you think now, have you seen any sort of, or even if it's even of an interest to you, at all, but have you seen any sort of advances forward? Because it is an area of religion, if you like, that I'm not that familiar with. I know, particularly in the Mormon Church, there is no advances forward at all in the area of homosexuality, as well as other things. But do you still have family, friends, or people that are within that circle? Do they talk about any sort of progression?
It's funny because the party line is always, there's the it's okay to be gay so long as you don't act upon it.
Yeah.
And then they'll say the church, as in the body of people, are not against the sin. It's the church as the organization. We can't be seen to promote it or accept it. I would say that there are individual little churches and little factions that are very welcoming and are kind of all-encompassing and are happy, are just happy to have you in their congregation, really. But I think, and I know Pope Francis has been trying to bring the Catholic Church into a more modern place. But I think religion as a whole has a very, very long way to go.
Yeah, definitely, and certainly certain sects of religion. I mean, there are, I think the people like the Quakers who are very, very advanced, very open and accepting. Yeah, you're right. There's certain sections that really do need to, I don't know, just. I kind of had this chat with Will from Atypical Tarot. What will it take? What will it take for that to actually happen? I think it will only get to that point where they're about to become extinct. When because it's a business at the end of the day. There's no takers and nobody buying into the business. Then they're kind of forced, then, aren't they, to adapt and change.
So there's I don't want to go down a religion rabbit hole, but one of the things that really irked me, and I guess it's a sign of the times, and it's a sign of the world that we're living in. There's a church here in Preston, right in the city centre, and it's called, or it used to be called, City Church Preston. And I think it was C of E. I'm not entirely sure. It might have been Baptist, but anyway, it was Christian. And I was driving through town. I'd come back from a contract, and I was driving through town, and its name had changed. It was now the City Mosque Preston. So the Muslims had actually bought the building, done whatever they did to it to kind of cleanse it and make it suitable for their place of worship, and they've taken over it. And as you say, churches, Christianity is dwindling. It is, there aren't bums on seats.
That went in a totally different direction than I was thinking. The reason why I said we used to have a church, it's actually the nearest church to this building, was called the Metropolitan Church, and then it became the City Church, and then Life in the City Church, which is very open and accepting of people's sexualities. So when you said City Church, I thought you was going to go that way. But yeah, we've got some churches that are now pubs, you know, and restaurants and things like that, because it's amazing architecture at the end of the day, and it's going to be beautiful, isn't it? So tell me a little bit then, Joe, because you are Joe the Tarot guy. So where did your history with tarot begin? What's your earliest memory, and take us through that lineage?
Well, as I said, I've always been pulled by cards, and in this battle, I'd amass a small set of decks, and I'd play with them and get used to them, and do what you do with cards, and then I'd have this pang of guilt that maybe I shouldn't be doing this, so I'd give them all away, and I'd have nothing spiritual at all. No incense, no sage, no cards, no crystals, nothing. I'd get rid of the lot. And then I'd start to miss it, and so I'd recollect and I'd go through that cycle. I guess I started to take it seriously and started to kind of allow. I think I would classify myself now as a seeker. So that there is something out there. I don't know what it is. I don't think anybody is right. I don't think anybody's wrong. I think we're all on our own path, and I can forge my path that fits me, and that path is with tarot and with divination and with spirituality, and with God. I'll still pray to God, and I don't think he. You know, my big argument whenever somebody tried to tell me I was living in sin, my big argument was always, God made me in his own image. He would not make me flawed, to live a life being flawed, to die in sin and go to hell. That's not how it works. And as well as that being true for the sexuality side of things, I think it's also true for anything that the Bible was written by man. The Bible was interpreted by man, and the Bible is ancient. Times have moved on, so I've kind of forged my own path, and I'm happy where I am, and I'll play with cards and use cards, and I won't be getting rid of any anymore.
Can you remember your first deck?
Not my very, very, very first deck, because I've had so many decks. I mean, they've always just been kind of cheap decks that you'll pick up on eBay, secondhand decks. It's never been anything swanky and flash, but it's always been one of the Rider-Waite. So whether it's the original Rider-Waite, whether it's the Centennial, you know, it's always been one of Pixie's artwork, because I don't know whether it's a trap people fall into, but kind of that seems to be the tarot deck that you get, particularly if you're learning, or you're kind of beginning your journey. So yeah, that's always been in my collection, and since I started taking it seriously, my stepmom gave me the original Rider-Waite, and the box is so beaten up now that it's literally hanging together by sellotape.
Is it? Do you know how old it is?
Oh no, it's behind me. Excuse the mess.
Oh, I like it.
It's this one.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of, there isn't a top on it anymore, and it's all frayed and sellotaped, and
we just love it.
So, but yeah, it's one of those decks that you feel safe with, you feel secure with, that you don't have to think about, you know, you pull a card and you know. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's. I mean, I don't use that one anymore. I did a swap with Y, and I got the Radiant Ys, and I just love the Radiant Ys. So that's now my kind of go-to Ryder Smith deck.
Yeah, and I think you're right when you said about it. Everybody seems to go with that. It's, you know, the images. I think it's definitely the most popular tarot deck. You know, it's the one that probably gets shown the most. And if anybody's, you know, you're watching films in Hollywood or series, and it's those images, it tells the unexpected and all those sorts of things. You know, either the one JJ Swiss or the Rider Waite, because they're so iconic, and it's the most copied tarot. And that was something that I found when I researched for Tarothon, when I was doing about RWS and Pixie. You know, it is the most copied tarot ever. You know, there's thousands of iterations of it in some form. But I think it's because, you know, we're working with archetypes, and therefore the way that they've been represented by Pixie herself, they are so familiar to us, because however you view archetypes, for me, you know, it's the collective consciousness, and therefore we see them, we recognize them, and that because they've been represented so well, they almost feel like they're, you know, you've seen them before, or, you know, maybe I've worked with them in a previous life, whatever. They're just so familiar and they're so iconic. So how would you say your tarot taste has changed then? I know you said there's always an RWS deck in there. Do you tend to be drawn towards any particular genres, or any particular you know, like animal decks, or just is it just the RWS all the way through?
No, I've got quite a variety of decks. I'm not massively into kind of fluffy bunny stuff. It doesn't really do it for me. I do like, again, I don't know whether it's a phase that the community's going through, or whether it's just kind of always there as an undercurrent, but I do very much like darker decks, vampire decks, gothic decks. Yeah, just the colors I think are just so nice. You know, the reds, the golds, the blacks. It's yeah, I like that. But then, having said that, you know, my latest deck is the Mons Tarot, which couldn't be further from from a gothic deck. So I've not used it yet. It's just sitting there looking at me. Yeah, I and then the Light Seers again. So I don't. If I was going to do a swap with somebody, and they said, "You have that, and I really want it. What do you want in return?" I'd say, "Send me something dark," because I know that I'll like it. If I'm browsing through Amazon or Book Depository, if it catches my eye, I'll buy it.
You're not, because you said earlier about it, I tend to just go for kind of mass market and not all singing whistles and stuff. But Mons Tarot is indie, isn't it? Did you buy that direct, or is that for an exchange? Or
no, that's one I bought that from Joanna and her Etsy shop, only because it's the only indie deck that I've ever bought as an indie deck, and it's because I just think it's so bloody cute. And I saw the first edition on, now, oh, her name escapes me, Jen's sister's channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she did a walkthrough of the first edition, and I was like, oh my god, I love that deck and I want to have it. But of course, it was out of print. And as soon as Joanna announced that she was doing a reprint, I was like, okay, that's going on the wish list. Yeah. But everything else is mass market or traded.
Yeah, I traded it. I had it. I backed the Kickstarter. It was the first ever deck I backed when I first found the community, even before I had a channel.
Wow.
I was a lurker, and everybody was going on. I didn't know how Kickstarter worked. I thought that when the 21 days was up, I'd get my deck.
That's it. Yeah.
Backed it, and then was saying to everybody, what happened about that debt? They're like, oh no, it's 6 months. I was like, what?
Wow.
I won again for about 2 years. And I liked it. I did like it, but a fantastic offer of a trade came up and they said, really want the Mons Tarot? And I was like, okay, well, I want so I went with the trade. Yeah. So, and do you just read the RWS or do you dabble with Marseille or Thoth?
I have a Thoth deck. I've had a Thoth deck for a long time because one of my very good friends only reads Thoth, and she said to me, you know, get this deck because it's the only deck you'll ever need. And I got it, and I tried and I tried and I tried, and I just couldn't do it. And it's on its way at the moment to Jennifer Ball. Because she wants to try her hand at Thoth. I've not tried Marseille, but that is I've got a couple of decks that I'm looking at to choose between because I want to have a go at Marseille because that looks fun. Lenormand, no, I don't get it. I think in terms of tarot reading, I will always be an RWS boy. Yeah. It's what I know. It's what I like. It's
familiar.
Yeah, and, totally.
Yeah, and if you read well with it, then stick with it. You know. Talking of reading well, then, so you're a professional reader. I seem to remember. Did you do telephones and things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was a little bit about.
Yes. So I've as I said, I've been playing with decks for quite some time, and I built a website and wasn't getting much footfall to come and buy readings. So I thought, well, what can I do? And the friend I was telling you about who only reads Thoth, she would read on a psychic hotline here in the UK. I think they're international. They weren't at the time, and she suggested, well, why don't you give that a go? It's a bit of extra money. And if you just sat around at home waiting for the phone to ring, then it might as well ring and make you some money. So, and that all sounds very mercenary, doesn't it? But at the end of the day, we've got to earn a crust. We've got to keep the wolf from the door. So I did. I gave them a call and said, I'm a reader. I'm in the UK, and are you looking for anybody? And they said, well, yeah, of course, come in. So I had to do a trial reading with the chap who recruits, and he was happy with that. And then they gave me a PIN number and a profile, and I literally logged on, and away it went. And the phone started ringing. I got a little bit disillusioned by it all because it literally was, these people are paying for a service. They're paying for an answer. They're paying for you to tell them what they want to hear. And if you don't tell them what they want to hear, click. And there's no niceties, there's no pleasantries. You might get to the end of the reading and say, okay, so I hope that's helped. And if you've got any other questions, now's the time to ask them. And they've already gone because they've
something like 3 minutes you get, or something like.
Oh no. So the service I was working on, they would pay either by the minute, or they could book like a 20-minute slot using a debit or credit card. And it's a bit weird. The way it would work is my phone would ring, I would pick it up, and I'd get a recorded message telling me it's the tarot line, and then it would tell me whether the caller is on a per minute basis or whether they've booked a set amount of time. So I would know whether I need to essentially get through it quickly, or whether I've got a bit of time to kind of settle them in and make sure that all the questions are answered. And but then the types of calls you get, it is literally, does he like me? Is he cheating? I'm thinking of leaving my job. Should I do it? I'm thinking of leaving my husband for this other chap. Should I do it? It's just, I'm still on there. I'm still registered on there, but I do it very, very rarely now because it just grinds you down. And then there's the pressure of you have to answer every call, because if you miss a call, obviously they're losing money as a company, and that's frowned upon. You might want to nip to the loo, or you might want to go and make a brew. You've then got to log off, go through the process of logging off to then log back on, and it's just, you feel literally tied to your phone, tied to the desk. And it was more of a business than a gift, and do you know what I mean? It's there if I need it, but
that's changed, does it?
No,
that element of it certainly seems to be lacking. And from what I remember, and it sounds like it was a different company. I think my friend Diane used to. She gave quite a good few vlogs about if you're considering, the psychic hotline, tarot reading hotlines, but they can be pretty brutal as well in terms of, because it's all based on ratings as well. I don't know if that's the same with yours, but if you didn't answer the question the way that they wanted you to answer it, they could give you a thumbs down, and then you got your name. There's so many star ratings. So people again are under pressure, like you say, to give what they want, and
absolutely
that's not ethical at all, is it? So yeah. So do you do face-to-face readings? And are you known in your area as Joe the Tarot?
I'm becoming more known. It's my little business is still in its infancy. I think it would be fair to say that I'm better known online than I am if I was to walk down to the co-op, nobody would know.
Okay.
But yeah, I have done face-to-face readings. I've done telephone readings, Skype readings, the usual sort of battery of ways of delivering, and particularly in the age that we're now in, and the stresses and the pandemic of the world. Everything's got to be online now, so
yeah. But it's this. I don't know how you feel, Joe, and do tell me. I mean, the readings that I've done online were great, but I used to have a 3-day turnaround. So if somebody booked and paid, then I would try and get back to them within 3 days. Although on the website it did say it could be up to a week, because I work full time. I have to go away and have other things, but there'd be pressure when they come in. And then if I got 2, I'm like, oh, I'm already 1 behind. And I used to get quite anxious about it. But the amazing thing was I could give readings to people all over the world, and with it being through this community, there weren't those questions that you get, will so come back to me? Does Virgo have feelings for me? None of that in the paid readings I was doing online. But the ones that I have done face-to-face, I prefer, because you can have that conversation. Whereas I was doing readings online to myself, a blank screen, a screen, my image on, and then uploading it and sending links. But that face-to-face, because I practice psychometry as well, I like to hold something that's got their energy, and I like to make that triangulation. And I always find wherever possible, if I can do them face-to-face, great. But the world, what we've seen this year, particularly with coronavirus, things like this and Zoom, and those companies have skyrocketed over the last few months.
Yeah.
And what it's done is it's pushed us forward at an accelerated rate of this new way of communicating. All of our meetings that we used to have to travel up the M1 for now for work, since coronavirus, we'll do this all the while now. We'll always have our meetings over Microsoft Teams. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be the new world, isn't it? So we have to embrace it in all aspects. And tarot reading is no different, I suppose. But do you prefer wherever you can then to try and get face to face?
Yeah, absolutely. Face to face is always better, and even if it's face to face over Skype, or even just like a one-to-one Zoom call or something. If sort of you can have a dialogue, as you say, you can have a conversation. And even on the phones, it doesn't have, you don't actually have to see the person, but if you're on the phone with somebody, talking to them, you can have that conversation and make sure that the information you're giving is understood and is clear, and that there's no big questions. I hate the feeling that a sitter might leave a reading thinking, and then they like, they're just lost. Do you know what I mean? I want them to go away understanding. If I have to, then we'll do things on we'll do things, as you said, sitting in front of a camera and recording it. But I don't like it. As you said, yeah, the world has changed. Everything is online. I can't remember the exact figure, but I heard that in March, when we first went into lockdown and everybody started to hear of Zoom, it went from, or the creator of it went from being like this unknown, still in his full-time job but coding his program in his bedroom, to being like a multi-millionaire overnight, because the whole world and his uncle were using Zoom.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
It is. And if you think about, I was doing quarantine streams for the first 9 weeks, I think, of lockdown, and there were so many people that were saying, different parts of the world, oh, I'm buffering, because everybody was online, because it was all locked down.
Yeah.
But we've still got this window to the world, haven't we, and this connection. And I've never had a family conference online before, looking into this phone. But it's just, you're absolutely right. Zoom and Microsoft Teams and everything just went, 0 to 16 in a second. So let's talk a little bit more. You touched on it at the beginning about the tech side. So those of you who are here who might not have seen Joe before will certainly have seen his work before. So any video of mine that you've watched in the last 3 months or so, you will have seen Joe's work. So the intro at the beginning of my video, the outro at the end of my video, all through the help of Joe here. So do you want to just talk a little bit about the services that you offer on the technical side of things as well?
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. I guess, not in terms of a service. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody's got. In terms of what hardware works and doesn't work. In terms of your microphone, your laptop, are you going to bring in an external microphone? Are you going to bring in a mixing desk? That sort of stuff. Software, so I use StreamYard as well. I've got the paid version, so there's a lot of add-ons that you get as part of that. Happy to walk people through that and kind of introduce you to what the add-ons are. In terms of paid services, yeah, I'll do intros, I'll do outros. So it's little mini videos that introduce or kind of say bye-bye to your channel. It just adds a little bit of flavor, a little bit of color. I can do logo design and that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, I mean, it's been a learning process through lockdown. But yeah, a lot of the stuff I've had to spend a lot of time on Google finding out, how do we do that? How do we make that better? Why is it their video looks that good and mine looks like this? And so yeah, through a lot of trial and error, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, and I'm happy to I'm happy to share them. I did think about making kind of tutorial videos.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, there's a lot of tutorial videos already out there. I think it might just be easy, if somebody has a particular question, just find me an email, or comment on a video or something, because I see them all, and just ask, and I'll happily. But if you want a tutorial video on something in particular, I'll throw something together.
And also, that if people go to my playlist and go to Tarathon 2020, there is a video there that you did. I think it's about 45 minutes long, about all the different sort of tech things that you can use, how they work, and you do it through different screen shares and all that sort of stuff. So it's really interesting and really informative. So do check that out as well, because that was a segment that Joe did for this year's Tarathon, which I think was it Tarot and Tech or something like that? I think
Tarot and Tech, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Title, but they are really good, and I'm just glad that there's somebody like you out there, because that's why I don't have any hair. It's because I pull it out, with frustration. With
I'm not far behind you.
even this week, I'm like, how did you do it? Where you split your camera and you can show your cards and still be on the screen without any interference? Because every time I've tried it, I just get this screeching noise. You have microphones together and you get that feedback. But he taught me through it, so I'll give it a try. So watch this space. Okay, so that's the technical side, as I said. I just want to ask a little bit more about your spiritual practices, because you mentioned that you pray to God. Do you define yourself now spiritually? Do you follow any particular, not necessarily faith, but any sort of spiritual practice? Do you engage in any sort of ritual, or is it just your divination?
The easy answer is no, I don't. It is just my divination. I think I fall into a trap that a lot of people fall into, and they'll only pray in times of trouble. So speeding home from Blackpool to get here today, thinking, oh God, don't let there be traffic, don't let there be traffic. That sort of thing. Or if I don't know, if my world has ended and everything's going tits up, then I'll pray. But I do pray, and I pray to God, but I don't pray to what the Christians or what the Catholics would call as God. I just pray to God, whether that's the universe, whether that is nature. I don't have a specific kind of thought process or a specific image in my head. I'm just kind of putting it out there into the universe. In terms of practice, I think it is more, I'm trying, failing miserably, but I'm trying to get into meditation, and just kind of centering and grounding and using sprays and incenses and things to just chill out a little bit. And so yeah, it's more kind of the metaphysical, the spiritual than faith as such.
And I suppose for well-being as well, because any sort of meditation, prayer, and like you say, incense and sprays, if it's all about trying to ground yourself or calm your mind, all that, then it's health and well-being, isn't it? And I think sometimes the lines get quite blurred between health and well-being and spirituality, and that they are, interconnected. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I do think it is a massive grey area, and they do go hand in hand. It just so happens that meditation is good for you and your mind and your soul, but it's also, dates back to kind of is it Buddhists and that side of things, of where it comes from. It's just, I mean, yeah, I use it for both. I certainly use it for mental health, mental well-being, because we've all got issues there. And
there's commonalities. I mean, it even predates Buddhism. You know, meditation, even, you know, Vedas and Hindus before Buddhism. You know, but you know, I remember really, even in my Christian roots, being in meditation. You know, they might not say let's have a meditation session, but they'll say let's just have some quiet reflection. You know, and you'd sit in silence for half an hour.
Yeah.
So you know, there's a commonality, I think, between all paths, really. And I've said many times before, what is spirituality? Spirituality can be, you know, just the majesty of the universe, or looking out from a hill, or beautiful music, and you know, you can feel a spiritual shift. Music plays an important part in your life, doesn't it, Joe?
Oh, massive, absolutely.
Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been a professional musician for about 20 years now. I started as a professional singer, excuse me, working all over the world, cruise ships. When I say all over the world, it sounds really glamorous. I was working on cruise ships that happened to go all around the world. So technically I was all around the world. And then after a period of time doing that, I switched sides of the table and became a vocal coach and a singing teacher. And I still do that. And I've worked in all levels of mainstream education. So from Key Stage 2, which is primary school here in the UK, secondary school, colleges, universities. So I'm out of that now. I don't work in education now because I'm a full-time parent, but I still have a private client base. But more so now, I work with choirs, and I'm a bit of a choir guy, as well as a tarot guy. I always working with stuff, and I saw a question in Indigo Oracle saying what kind of music. It's anything and everything. I've in my educational setting, I've worked with classical. Classical's not my bag, really. I'm not a specialist in classical. Musical theatre is my specialism. So give me a show tune and I'm happy as a row of dancers doing a kick line. But yeah, rock, pop, musical theatre, jazz, a bit of anything and everything.
Yeah, wow. Can anybody be taught to sing?
Yes, everybody can sing. Every single person in the world can sing. The caveat is you may not have the most amazing voice in the world, and you may not be the next Beyonce or Justin Bieber. But if you enjoy singing, that's all that matters. You know, I have a real gripe about adults who were told in school you shouldn't sing. You've got a terrible voice. You shouldn't you shouldn't sing. Who is that person? Who does that person think they are to judge a child and to basically slap them down for the rest of their lives? Because that child will carry that into adulthood and will never sing and will never enjoy singing because they can't sing.
Yeah.
It's scientifically proven that when you eat a bar of chocolate, endorphins are released in the brain. It's also scientifically proven that the same endorphins are released when you sing. So if you sing and you're enjoying it and you just get lost, you might sing in the shower. You might sing on your way to work in the car. You might be part of an Amdram group and go and do shows. If you enjoy what you're doing, then all power to you and go for it. If you want to improve your voice, it's like anything. I could pull in Fred Bloggs from down the road and go, okay, there's a tarot deck, do me a reading. He'd go, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
I could give him a book and send him away for a week and then say, right, come back. He could teach himself how to do a basic reading, It might not be very good, but he'll have a better understanding of the cards. It's the same with anything, you know, and particularly as you're asking about music and singing. If I give you a set of tools to improve your voice, then your voice will improve because it's a muscle.
Yeah.
So yes, sorry, that was a really long way around, but yes, everybody can sing.
The reason why I'm smiling as well is because Jackie clearly sat with Al. I shared this story with her. When I was at school, we had a teacher. Still remember, you're absolutely right. It sticks with you for life. And we was all going to be in this Christmas show, and we was rehearsing. And he came and he said, "When I come past and listen to you, if I tap you on the head, move to the other side of the room." So he's coming along and he's tapping. Not very often he was tapping. He got to me, he listened at my mouth as I was singing, and he tapped me on the head. So I moved to the other side of the room. And there was a little bunch of us in the rest of the room. He said, "You lot are growlers." He said, "You can be in the choir, but you lip sing." And then there were certain songs we was allowed to sing. And we'd be doing this choir and we'd be singing, and he'd go, "Growlers, shut up." So at that point, we had to mouth the words. So I went to a concert that I was so excited about, mouthing, lip singing all the way through. Nobody knew, but because I was a growler. And it stuck with me, and it stuck with me for life. And now I'll never sing in public. You know, I'll be like, "Oh no, I'm not going to sing," you know, and I shy away from it. And I must have been 8, maybe 9 at the most when that happened, you know, and it's always there, growler, shut up. The impact adults have on children, seriously.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. How is your practice with divination accepted in your immediate family? You are a family man. You just said, you know, you're a family guy. How is it accepted in your immediate family, in your wider circle?
The immediate family, I think it would be fair to say they tolerate it. They don't get it. They know it's something I do and I enjoy. They don't get it. "Oh, you're going to do that again," or when something arrives from Amazon, am I allowed to swear? The answer, the statement I usually get is "more shit." So yeah, and then the most recent one, which made me giggle because I'm sure I've heard the community talking about it, was, "What do you need all those decks for anyway? They just sit there collecting dust. All you need is one." So
for a reading.
Pardon?
Has your partner ever asked you for a reading?
No, he doesn't believe in it. He thinks it's a load of codswallop. So he tolerates it because it's what I do and I enjoy it. And the rest of the family, they're fine with it. They just let me get on with it. I don't think they have a real opinion about it. My stepmom has. She is. She's spiritualist, and she comes from a line of clairvoyants, very well known and very, very popular and very good clairvoyants from Southport and Sefton. So yeah, she kind of champions me, but she's the only one.
Okay. A few kind of tarot-y questions, and I always like to find out from people when I interview them. So, what's currently at the top of your wish list? Is there a certain deck that you wish you could have?
There's I'm going to be really disappointed in this, isn't there? Because my mind goes blank. There's nothing. I tell you what, I've been after for such a long time, but I refuse to pay the money. The Bohemian Gothic.
All right.
Yeah, I love it, but did you hear that? Oh, love. That was very Lancashire, wasn't it? I love it. But it's going for like 150 upwards.
Yeah, I think it's gone out of print this year, hasn't it? I think
has it
in the last few months. If I'm wrong, correct me in the chat, guys. But I'm sure I heard somewhere, probably in the Hermit's Cave, somebody said Bohemian Gothic's just gone out of print, so that could be why. But I could be wrong on that. But yeah, so that's the one you'd really love above all others, is it?
Yeah, I've been coveting it for a while.
Yeah. Why, when you said you liked vampire decks and darker decks, there is like there's like a blue hue to all of the cards in that. It's quite.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're looking for a deck, are there any cards that have to be done just right? Any particular ones that you check out?
Yes, I check out. I check out 3 cards. I always check out Death, because I like the Death card. And then I found out that my birth cards are the Lovers and the Devil. I don't really know what birth cards means. Somebody, I think it was Y on the Cusp Tarot, asked me, what are your birth cards? I was like, I don't know. So I Googled birth cards, and I found this generator thing that you put in your birth date and it tells you. So yeah, apparently my birth cards are the Lovers and the Devil.
Same.
Is it?
Yeah, down to 6. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I always check out those 3.
Wow. Yeah. And are there any cards you found particularly challenging when you was learning the tarot? Any that kind of was problematic?
The Hierophant.
Right. Is that association with?
Absolutely. You know, he's sat there wearing the papal hat and the bishop's mitre or whatever it is, and yeah, it was very, in my head, it's very Catholic. So yeah, that's.
How are you with the Hierophant now?
Getting better with the different decks that there are, and the different interpretations of the card. It ebbs and flows.
What does your collection look like now then? Like you said, you've been kind of around the community for about 18 months. Like, I'm sure, like most of us, when you come into the YouTube community, you get bitten by the bug, don't you? And you have to play catch up, and I've seen you do loads of giveaways as well of decks that you've let go. And the device behind you, the blind, I like that. Is that where you your?
Yeah. So basically, because I do a lot of teaching online, I didn't want a busy background. I wanted to keep it fairly neutral. So it was actually Tom, my other half, who suggested we put up a blind. So it's just a roller blind that you can get from B&M, and it just so this is all my all my voice books and my teaching books. This is all sheet music in here. These are my bath bomb wax melt supplies, and this up top is my tarot divination part. So we've got my books, my incenses, and then over here we've got a collection of decks that aren't in the cycle, because I've got those up in front of me. So what I have in front of me on this side is a set of oracle decks that are my go-to for the moment. Up here I've got a set of tarot decks that again are my go-to, and I've got a crystal garden up there as well, and then I've got those in the background in case I want to go and fish something out.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So because you said you don't necessarily class yourself as a spiritual person, what role does crystals play for you? Is it more of an aesthetic or?
No. Well, yes and no. There are. I mean, they're always up there, and they look very nice, and they've been arranged very nice. But there are times when I might be going through something in particular where I'll grab a particular crystal that I know will just settle my mind, and I'll just stick it in my pocket and carry it with me through the day, and then it'll go back up on the shelf. So yes, it is aesthetic because I like looking at them, and I know that every crystal does have its own properties and its own energy. So yes and no. it's there to look at and to be nice, but then when I need it, it goes in the pocket.
And it's nice to have them around your space as well, aren't you? Because for me, they really do, just change the vibe. I always, wherever I'm sat, I've got crystals around me because, in every direction, I suppose it's a bit like the image of the Buddha for me. You walk into a room and there's a Buddha there, and it automatically puts you in that sort of relaxed and calm state. And it's the same with crystals. They just give off such a lovely vibe that I just feel instantly kind of calm, and there are, you only have to look at watches to see the chrysalis, that they've got crystals in them for regulating time, chrysalis radios, fine tuning. So they've got a vibration, they've got an energy, and, it's just nice for me to have them around me. And they say they work with your computers and things, people put them near the computers to keep the computers running. So I don't know if that's scientific or not, but you will tell us afterwards. Okay, so we've been on for an hour. I've just got a few more kind of questions, and then we'll do paper plastic. So if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, knowing everything that you know now, what kind of conversation would you have with young Joe?
It would be very twee. It would be very expected. It would be, don't listen to them. As I said, I've just done an Instagram 7 days of tarot challenge, and my 7th day was a little video. What do you like most about the tarot? And what I like most about it is there are no rights and there are no wrongs.
Yeah.
Every single person that sits for a reading, hang on, what am I trying to say? Let's pull, I don't know, let's pull the Three of Swords. That card is going to be read differently by every person that reads it, and it's going to be received differently by every person it is read for. None of them are wrong. And that is the beauty that's what I like about tarot is there are no wrongs. It's your interpretation, it's your intuition as you are there in that moment, which is right for that person or that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody who's ever said to me, you shouldn't do that, I always say, no, you shouldn't do this.
Yes.
Because, you're absolutely right. We come to tarot wherever we come to tarot, whether we see it as a fortune telling tool, or whether we see it as a mirror, whether we see it for whatever we see it for stories, pictures, that can give us some direction, whatever it is, that it's fine. Whether you read a book or you read it intuitively or you've studied the system, it's either is fine. You're absolutely right. And there's nothing worse than when people say, oh no, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do this, or those daft ones, you shouldn't ever buy a tarot, it has to be gifted to you. All of those we've heard, haven't we? But we've moved quite away from there. Who's your ultimate dinner guest? If you're throwing a dinner party, dead or alive, who would you like?
Dead or alive? Ooh, it's funny. I was talking about this the other day with some friends, and can I be really controversial now? I would like to sit down to dinner with Maggie Thatcher.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not political in the slightest, and I refuse to get into politics because I don't understand it. I don't get it. But what I liked about her, I don't like what she did, because there's a lot of people that were adversely affected by her actions. What I liked about her is that she knew what she wanted to do and she did it. And she got things done. Whereas you look at politicians these days, and they'll have a meeting about having a meeting, and then they'll have to check with everybody's diaries to make sure that everybody can make the meeting, to arrange the meeting, and nothing actually gets done. So I would have dinner with her. I think that'd be really interesting.
Okay. And I suppose my final question is, what's next for you then, Joe, in terms of your channel? Any plans, anything you'd love to do with your channel, a direction to take it in, or anything?
Well, you know, I'll be totally honest with you, and I'll be totally. I'm always, one of the things I pride myself on is I try to be really transparent. Whether it's with my choir, whether it's with my students, I try to be open and honest. I'm trying to make. I'm self-employed. I don't have a full-time job, and in the state that the world is currently in, my choir is suffering massively because, of course, everybody says I joined a choir to sing with other people. Well, Zoom works. Zoom is great, but you can only hear yourself. So choir is massively suffering. I would like to make tarot not my full-time living, but I would like it to supplement my music work. So what I'm trying to do is build a bit of a business, I guess, from my YouTube channel, my Instagram, build a bit of a following and a bit of money, really. In terms of content, I think I'm suffering at the moment with the pandemic blues, because I'm running out of ideas massively on what to do. So I'm looking around for some tags and some VRs that I can participate in. But yeah.
Cool. And there's quite a moment. Jen did one about balancing the deck scales, the tarot's deck scales.
Yes.
Rainbow deck. Well, did you do the
I've done the rainbow decks one.
Yeah. But yeah, there's check out Jen's as well, because that's a good, that was the last pack I did, I think. Yeah, cool. Quite excited. So, paper or plastic then?
Let's do it.
That we always do at the end, just for a bit of fun, find out a little bit more about you. It's a quick fire round. Don't think about your answer, just go with the first thing that pops into your head. So, some are relating to tarot cards, others are just general as well. The first one is for tarot. Paper or plastic?
Paper.
Oracle or tarot?
Oracle at the moment.
Oh. YouTube or Instagram?
YouTube.
Peanut butter or jam?
Can I not have both?
PBG.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Small gatherings.
So say that again.
Big parties or small gatherings?
Small gatherings.
Wait or Crowley?
Wait, definitely.
Bath or shower?
Bath.
Bordered or borderless?
Borderless, definitely.
I think I know the answer to the next one. Dark and creepy or rainbows and unicorns?
Dark and creepy.
Indie or mass?
Oh, mass.
Tablet or PC?
Tablet.
Save or spend?
Oh, spend, definitely.
Money or free time?
Free time.
Phone calls or FaceTime?
FaceTime.
Movies at home or in the cinema?
Movies at home.
Large or small cards?
Small.
Life after death or total oblivion?
Life after death.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Woodland forest or sandy beach?
Sandy beach.
Toilet roll hanging over or under?
Definitely over. It's the only way to do it. It's the correct way. Is this where you hit delete, get out, leave?
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card. What shall we have today? Let's go with Druidcraft. Jilly's in the room, and I watched Jilly talk about this deck yesterday, so I'm going to pull a card from Druidcraft. whilst I'm shuffling, is there a particular deck that you want to just show a few cards from and talk about that's either your favorite deck or one that's kind of vying for your attention at the moment?
Yeah, I can do. So for those of you that have seen my channel before, you'll know my favorite deck is the Dark Mansion. I love it. This is just the mass market version. I think it's the standard version. They brought out a deluxe version with different backs, but I actually prefer this back. Blue clouds, the sun and the moon, and black edging on it, which is gorgeous. It comes as standard. I love the imagery. It's very it reminds me of Tim Burton and The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I have pre-ordered. I don't tend to pre-order decks, but I've pre-ordered the Nightmare Before Christmas, so I'm looking forward to that coming in. They're just, I don't know, I get really good readings with them. They're just really nice cards. They're so pretty. The colors are gorgeous. I'm finding shuffling them a pain in the backside, I'll be honest. They kind of tend to stick together a bit. Your card stock is amazing.
Cards as well.
It is, yeah. I feel like I want to put some talcum powder or something on them just to make them a bit slippier. But yeah, the cards are just gorgeous, and I don't know. I was really drawn to it. So that's my favorite deck at the moment.
Yeah.
Very Charles Dickens.
When I got the deluxe first, which was rose petal. Then the standard size, that one didn't come in the rose petal. I think that was the second edition of it. Did you see that card fly? We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Oh, it's the death card.
Woohoo!
We've got the death card from the Druidcraft. Isn't that an amazing image?
Nice.
I love that. So we all know what the death card stands for. It's about change, and not only just about change, but accepting change. You know, it's inevitable. Everything's always in constant flow and flux, and we just have to align ourselves with that change. Sometimes, you know, it's about letting go as well. And whilst that can be bittersweet, it does help us to grow. When we let go of something, whether we're letting go of the past, whether we're letting go of a situation, whether we're letting go of somebody, you know, and we go naturally through that stage then of mourning. That's something that we no longer have in our lives. And we might feel a gaping hole, but it doesn't take long for that hole to be filled with something else. And what the death card constantly reminds me of is that we're always moving forward. You know, from the cradle to the grave, if we imagine drawing a straight line, we are somewhere on that line. But one thing that is guaranteed is that line, we're always moving towards the end. So we're always going in a direction. And we have to embrace that fact that change happens, but we're continuing going. We haven't stood still. You know, time waits for no one. We continue going. So don't overthink it too much, or be too over concerned about the consequences. Instead, focus on the fact that you're moving forward, and what is it that you want to bring into your life to fill that void that this sudden change has brought about. And yes, it's fine to mourn, and it's fine to feel sorrow at losing something, but also we need to try and seek joy as well, and focus on the positives, and realize that when one door does close, another one really does open. But it is up to us to walk through that door and embrace the newness that opportunities bring. So our message for the week ahead. Joe, thank you for being my guest today on Catching Up With. It's been an absolute joy. I am sorry it's taken 18 months.
It's all right. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything you want to say before we go?
Subscribe to my channel.
Yeah. So in the description below is a link to Joe's channel. You've seen how great he is, so do give him a sub. Yeah, and thank you again for being here. And everybody else, I'll be back in the week. I'm just trying to think what Saturday. There's a chat tonight I want to promote. Our Becca, if she's still in the chat, is a guest on somebody else's channel tonight. And Becca, I've forgotten whose channel. So if you do want to pop it into the chat, or if anybody else knows from last night, I'm terrible at remembering channel names, but I have seen it and I have put the reminder on. So yeah, and it was the person who Renee, who Becca had on last week. So that's at 9 o'clock tonight. Tarot Magician. Thank you, Chantel. So Tarot Magician is having Becca on tonight, and that's Renee at 9 o'clock. So do check that out as well, and do check out Joe's channel. Thanks everybody for being here, and until next time, go in peace, namaste, and blessed be.